Hey everyone, in today's video we are going to be breaking down an RV fire. Automobile fires are very common, and I promise you will run on many of them during the course of your career. They're also a little bit different from house fires in that there's some things you're going to want to look for and things you're going to need to pay attention to, especially depending on whether or not it's a hybrid car or a standard car, the placement of the vehicle, and all sorts of other factors. Before we get into it, I want to say that this video is originally shot from FB1 Response Videos. I'll put a link to his channel down below. He has some awesome footage, so you should certainly give him, check him out, give him a subscribe, give him a like on his videos. He does a really good job of capturing this footage. Let's get started. So right off the bat, as you show up, there's a few things I want to point out in this scene. Some things you're going to want to pay attention to and things you're going to really want to look out for. The first thing is, if you notice, this RV is obviously parked on the side of the road up against some sort of fence. I have no idea what's behind that fence. Maybe it's storage units, maybe it's apartments. I don't really know. My guess is it's something commercial given the fact that there's barbed wire on the top of the fence. But this is considered an exposure. As you can see, it's already melted the paint off of the side of this fence. It looks like the fence was black. There is a lot of heat coming off of this RV while this is going on, so you're going to certainly want to pay attention to what's behind it. And you'll see later on in the video, they do a really good job of getting in there to check the exposure. The next thing you're going to want to pay attention to is if you look above this RV, you see that those power lines are already getting fried. Anytime you bring power lines into the equation, it can get very dangerous. The last place you want to be when a power line snaps is standing right underneath it. That's going to be more on command to get a hold of the power company to shut down the power to whatever area that is. But just know, anytime you show up on any scene, whether it be a house or a street or something like this, always be aware of power lines. Electricity is a very dangerous thing if you're not familiar with it, so look out for that. The last thing that I want to say is you heard that really loud pop right before I paused the video. That was probably a tire that went off. But one thing when you're dealing with automobile fires, especially RV fires like this, is unfortunately we live in a time where people will use these as weapons from time to time. Obviously it's not that common, but pay attention and look for any signs of any potential danger. This is a random RV just parked in a random spot by itself. It definitely seems kind of weird. Obviously, as the video goes on, it doesn't seem like there was anything nefarious going on, but that's certainly something you want to pay attention to. A couple of years ago, I went on a car fire in a restaurant parking lot where there was a full propane tank just sitting in the back seat. Fortunately, the car fire didn't get to the point where that propane tank overheated, but that could have gotten a lot worse. So always, if you can, try and be aware and pay attention to what's going on and be mindful of the fact that there might be something in this RV or there might be something in that vehicle that could potentially hurt someone. 866 on the radio, engine 57, engine 46, life force 26, squad 21, battalion 13, battalion 18. Respond with engine 66 on scene, the auto fire with a one-story commercial involved. Channel 9 response, TAC is 13, TAC 13. So I have to stop it there again really quick, and I have to give credit where credit's due. That dispatcher did a very good job of being very clear and concise in his directions to all the incoming units and letting everybody know what's going on scene and exactly where to go. Dispatching is a very difficult job. They do not get nearly enough respect. And if anybody that's ever worked in public safety has had a bad dispatcher that kind of mumbles through it and you can't really understand what they're saying, you appreciate a really good dispatcher when you hear one. So good job to whoever this guy is that's the dispatcher on this particular call. 233, Roger, stand by. You got multiple entry.
truck on that. Go ahead. You're gonna go get her about 50 seconds. Roger, it's an RV exposed in a metal clad. I can't tell if it's into a yard or a shop building. We're making our way into that yard. Okay, copy. You have a water supply?
So I want to point something out of what you just saw happen. I read in some of the comments on the original video, some people felt as though that particular firefighter that came and picked up the nozzle and started putting water on the fire was being disrespectful to the other firefighter. That's not a sign of disrespect at all. That's actually very normal. While one firefighter pulls the line and then starts getting dressed, or I shouldn't say dressed, getting their mask and going on air, another firefighter will grab the nozzle and start hitting the fire, whether it be a house or an RV like this, while the other person gets fully masked up and ready to go and then gives the nozzle back. That's a really normal thing. That is not a sign of disrespect. And to be honest, that firefighter looked like she really wasn't in a huge hurry to get her gloves on and get ready to go. But again, that's not a sign of disrespect. You need to get water on the fire as quickly as you possibly can. But taking the nozzle from somebody to start getting water on the fire while they get ready and then handing it back to them as they continue to do that is totally normal. The other thing too is if you're a new firefighter or you will be getting into firefighting, when you're getting masked up and you take your helmet off, don't set your helmet down. A lot of times when you show up on a fire, it's a all-out brawl just to get on the tip of the hose line, get on the nozzle. People will kick your helmet because they want to be the first in the fight. And that's what you want out of firefighters. You want firefighters who are smart but also aggressive and want to get in there, want to be the first in the fight. So I didn't see anything wrong with that. I didn't see anything disrespectful about that. But I just noticed that in the comments and figured I'd point that out.
I got to be quick with the engine. Copy, just have to report the blanker. I'll give you. Yeah, Metro Task Force 66 on the rescue. I have a one-story commercial being exposed by an RV fully involved. Not sure if it's inside the building yet. Multi-assignment, engage IC. IC, roger. The just part of the structure.
The other thing I wanted to point out here is you saw that firefighter pulling that line across the screen. He's hustling. That's good. There are way too many fire videos online where you see somebody just kind of sauntering down without pulling a line and just kind of very slowly with no sort of pace or they just move too slow. The other thing too is you see the guy in the orange helmet. I've been informed that in Los Angeles, the orange helmets are captains. This captain is doing a good job monitoring this, making sure he's getting water on the fire. You can see they already have somebody using a K-12 to open up whatever this gate or this fence is to see what's behind this exposure. Go check that out. He's doing a good job monitoring everything. That's what good officers do. They're in there with their crew and they're making sure everything's running smoothly. So good job for them. Let you know you got engine 67 and engine 33 over down the fire side. So I have to say this truck crew is impressive. They did a really good job getting into that gate, and then you just saw the captain send them over to cut open that man door right there. Seems like wherever this is, there's a lot of bars and steel bars on all the windows and doors. And those can be difficult to get through, but they did a good job. You just saw them donkey kick it and get in that door to check out whatever's going on in there. The other thing I want to point out is if you see standing on the sidewalk next to that car, there is somebody, a bystander, recording with a cell phone. You need to be aware of that going into the fire service. As society progresses and obviously as technology progresses, everybody has a camera in their pocket. Your face is probably going to end up on YouTube or something like that. So make sure you're always doing your job correctly, properly, and professionally the best that you can. Obviously, Monday morning quarterbacking is the easiest thing in the world to do for people. But these guys are doing an awesome job being efficient, getting in there, knocking down the fire, and checking for the exposure.
Delta side first. Yeah, 233, you copy. 233, copy. I'm in the guard. Looks like no extension. You got some lines to the RC. Yeah, copy. Engine 46, Flight Force 26, just stand by until we get this RV knocked down. I see some Flight Force 26, copy.
So if you're really new to the fire service and unfamiliar, the guy that they just showed standing by that panel is the pump operator, also known as the engineer or the apparatus operator. His sole job on the fire ground is to get water to the firefighters fighting the fire on the nozzle. Can be a very difficult job. I know that there's some people out there that make fun of apparatus operators or drivers or engineers because they're not in there fighting the fire, but it's a very difficult job, and quite honestly, it might be the most important job on the fire ground. If firefighters in the fire run out of water, things can go sideways very quickly. So good job to him. It can also get confusing sometimes when you have multiple lines coming off of a truck, different size lines, different pressures for different lines, different nozzles. But he looks like he's doing an awesome job.
Yeah, engine 66, I copy. I'll handle this with all of Task Force 66 and both rescues. Yeah, Metro from Gauge IC. No more updates. There's no extension into the one-star commercial and gained access. I'm going to handle this with Task Force 66, Rescue 66, Rescue 866, and Rescue 266. We're going to hang on to the tag. We'll go back to 7. We haven't knocked down. Gauge IC, Roger. Knockdown time is 13:34 hours. You're going to be handling with your task force and rescues going back to 7, holding on the tag. Our units responding to structure, Gauge at St. Andrews, Task Force 66 and rescues will handle. Going back to Channel 7. All units, you can update your status.
So that's it for the purposes of this video. If you couldn't hear the last little bit there, the scene commander or whoever's in charge of this particular scene gave the instructions to the dispatcher that the fire was knocked down, there was no extension, they'll be handling it from there. And then the dispatcher relayed that same message back to him. Great job by this dispatcher. Seriously, I am impressed. There's a lot of really good dispatchers out there, and there's a lot of not so good dispatchers out there. So if you get a good one, you're really lucky, because that can be difficult. Great job in general by the Los Angeles Fire Department of knocking this down quickly, checking the exposures. They hustled, they got it done, they got it taken care of. So good job to them. As always, I hope you guys found this useful and you found this helpful. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. I do lives on the channel now, so if you do subscribe, make sure you click the notification bell so you can know when we go live, and you can come on and ask me anything about firefighting, EMS, fitness, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're working on. And I will see you guys in the next video.